Welcome to Hardcore Metal Detecting Radio. I'm Derek Asklar. Craig Talley's on the line there. We'll be hosting the show tonight. Just kind of, muddling along tonight. I had a little technical issues, but it was on my part. I guess I didn't have something linked in right. But hopefully you're hearing us tonight. Craig's at least hearing me. It's like a one-sided conversation, and I couldn't hear his side. So, but yeah, I was just telling Craig I was down here. It is only like 50, I don't know, 52 degrees or something like that. My gosh, the humidity down here apparently is.
We'd be sweating.
No, I wasn't.
Sweating right now.
Yeah, I was out.
No, I would be.
Oh, yeah.
We're getting down. I think the high today was 40.
Yeah.
Didn't even feel that warm.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the snowbirds are coming back and everything, and a couple of, guys, coming down from like New York and all over the place up north. And they even said, man, it feels like it's like 38 degrees out there. I said, yeah, it's got humidity. It makes it feel that much colder. Then we had a good breeze, but, I went to, we had a poppy drive, the Buddy Poppies and got those, people come by and donate and, it's supporting, veterans and families. But yeah, it did that, and it was like 12:30. I said, I had enough of this. I'm freezing to death because I just brought a, like normal T-shirt, Craig. Usually I don't have a problem in this kind of weather, but it just chill you to the bone kind of thing. But I stopped on the way back to the house here, and I had to take the Simplex out because I hadn't even turned the thing on until today. I put it together and everything, charged it up. Kind of read the manual a couple times. It was believe it or not, real easy read. But it did give you some hints in there too, which I hadn't seen in several other manuals that I've read in the past, on detectors and stuff, kind of giving you a heads up. If you do this will happen, or if you turn this on or off, it'll increase the depth of the detector. And it's just very well explained. I was kind of impressed with that because I've had so many different detectors that, I always use the Blisstal because that was a mind blower there, the way that they use proper English translation, and it drove me crazy. I know it did you too, Craig. It's not that we couldn't read it; it was just the way it was.
Yeah, luckily we had Darren Groves to help us.
Yeah, Darren helped me. He's over in the UK there, and he kind of explained stuff a little bit better because it was kind of repetitive because of the translation. But they did a really nice job on it. But I read that over, and I took it out to a curbside. This is where I found a World War I drill sergeant's whistle, the military whistle and everything, and a few other items. But it's really kind of trashy area. There's a lot of old stuff, but it's like pieces of cast and pieces of, oh, God only knows, aluminum and copper, brass, everything. But I never really found very many coins over there. And I said, well, I'm going to go back over there. It's only maybe a 30-foot by, we'll say 75-foot area. And they actually have a new sidewalk, but if you walk further in towards the fence lines, there's an old sidewalk there that's been mostly grown over with grass. It kind of grew over top of it, and not too many people kind of knew about it. So I had located that several years ago, and I've hunted it, 2 or 3 times with the Blisstal and everything else. But, I said, I'm just going to take this, detector like a lot of people do, probably new to the hobby, just turn the thing on and go with it. So I turned it on. I think the only thing I did was move the sensitivity down a little bit. I said, I'm going to leave the sensitivity halfway, and first target I get is it was a 1968 dime. It had about, 4 or 5 inches. And I thought, well, that's pretty good. Then the next target I hit was a bottle cap, and I noticed what that read up on the screen. It was kind of jumpy. It wasn't locking on, and it wasn't really that deep. So I kind of got a heads up on it, but I liked it. It didn't have this detector doesn't have that wobble in it, Craig, like most of them do. The way they designed that detector shaft.
I watched a lot of open box videos with that detector, and the first thing people say almost is when they put it together, they kind of they grab the grip, and they go, wow, this thing is really solid. It doesn't feel like a cheap detector, and it doesn't,
it surprised me.
Yeah.
Well, the way it's shaped like it's like a square, but it's off shaped. I can't remember what we called it, but It's narrower at the top of the square, and it only fits in one way. That's one nice thing. You can't make a mistake and slide the detector shaft in upside down, and we've all done that at some time or another. It's only one way you can put it in there, but it has those cam locks, or not cam locks, but the flip locks like the Deus, and I think the Equinox has them too. But solid. I mean, I can sit there and rip that thing back and forth. I feel no wobble at all when I used it today at all. Pinpointing seemed real good. I was pleasantly surprised because I don't know what this thing's going to do yet. I only used it for about 20 minutes. I ended up finding, a dime, couple pennies. I dug some pieces of aluminum, of course, and stuff like that. But for 20 minutes, hell, I figured it was pretty good. But it seemed to, I used the pinpoint, but I really didn't need to, Craig. I guess I got used to not using a pinpoint button. One of the people on the Nox, not the Nox, the Nocta site was saying something. Well, I really like it, but why did they put the pinpoint button on the left side and of the pad? And I'm like, it's easier. You lift your thumb up about an inch to get it, an inch versus crossing over the front of the screen to the right side. You must be. I mean, I was like, I thought it was a lot easier. Matter of fact, I was hitting on the Quest. It's in the middle, so middle of the pad or whatever.
Same with the Equinox. It's at the bottom in the middle.
Yeah, I liked it on the left because you didn't have to move your thumb up so far. I mean, it sounds silly. It's only an inch. I mean, that's what I'm down to right now is critiquing that kind of stuff and what they are too. I mean, even one guy said that, he had did the firmware update. I guess you got to turn off your antivirus protection or something like that in order to do the firmware update. And he said that's the only thing he found he didn't like. So yeah, we're grasping at straws here if we're finding something that we don't like about the machine. So far, anyways, for me.
I don't like it that you can't put it, into a Mac.
That's one thing I don't like. I just prefer to use my Mac, but I have a PC, so I'm lucky. I didn't even do the update yet. I just used it right out of the box. They said, leave it on there for 3 hours, which I did. It was charged up in an hour. And that was no problem. Actually, the connectors on them, it has like these I call them aircraft connectors, for like the coil looks like, but the charger side and everything is that way too. That's the only thing I didn't like on the machine. I thought it should have been more substantial is the cover that goes over top of the charging port or the data port. They have like a rubber thing that fits over top and just kind of slides on it. And I thought they would have a screw on with a gasket kind of thing to make it more watertight, if that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, we're talking, you can go out and buy one if you want to. I mean, I haven't found anything I don't like yet, Craig. I mean, it just surprised me that it seems to pinpoint good. I didn't scratch anything, that's for sure. And I just did the pretty much the crossover, the Xing off to find the target. I used the pinpoint a little bit just to make sure, but it was pretty accurate. It was picking up everything. I had like 6 or 7 targets around. I kind of turned in a circle with the detector back and forth. And I was picking up all these different signals, and the recovery delay seemed really good. So the only thing I was digging a few bottle caps, but I'm sure I can adjust those out if I want to or whatever. A penny ring up at 65, which I thought that this was more on the lines of a whites as far as VDI. That changes up.
Low. It's kind of low compared to. That's what a lot of people are saying. Mm-hmm. You got to get used to the numbers.
Yeah, and I just dig signal anyway. If a signal sounds clear and it was over like 20, I got a 19. I thought for sure was going to be a something, and I mean, it just locked on so tight, so didn't even waver. And I think it turned out to be a piece of aluminum, but it was, it just locked on it so good.
So does this thing have like 50 tones and then 5 and 3 and 2? And
no, it goes the tone. I think it has 4. I want to say 4, but I think it's 3 tone when you're in park or field, and then you go. It's 4 tone. 4 tone when you're in park or field. When you go to beach, I think it goes to 3. It might be different than that. One of them has 4. The other 2 have 3, and then the all metal, of course, is just all metal on it. I did like the idea of turning the iron volume down, and I read in the main manual that that actually increases your depth. But I wasn't even running a lot of sensitivity, Craig. I mean, I was running maybe half sensitivity, and that's one of the things you can kind of adjust every time and ground balance. This machine ground balanced easily also. It actually, similar to the Beach Hunter ID with whites and the Bliss tool and stuff, when you pump the coil up and down off the ground, you hold the pinpoint button down, and you pump the coil. If you, it should be if you get a beep or whatever signal when you're raising the coil, that means you need to raise the ground balance on a manual ground balance. If it beeps when you're lowering the coil to the ground, you need to lower it. So it's kind of the same on I guess maybe several of the detectors are like that, but it's pretty easy. But they say you can just use auto ground balance. I just, like I said, I just turned it on and went. So, I'll try some more of this stuff tomorrow morning because I'm heading out with it up to, I may stop at that curbside again. I was getting a lot of signals. I just didn't have time. I was too cold to mess with it. I didn't bring a jacket or nothing this morning. It's kind of stupid, but usually I keep a jacket in the car for my wife or whatever, and I didn't have one in there. But I may stop by there in the morning and hunt that for an hour or two because I think there's a lot more stuff there. Obviously, if I'm finding dimes and pennies, this used to be an old college, and there used to be a track there and everything, bleachers and everything. It's all gone now. You can't even tell there was anything there. But I did find the sidewalk, whatever, the walkway they used to get to the bleachers. So I figured, well, I'll give it a shot. Last time I hunted there's a lot of scrap metal. Like, I don't know if they had some kind of a tin. I don't think it was a roof. I think it was somewhere on the bleachers. They had the tin up, and there was pieces of tin pieces like about the size of like a 1 foot by 1 foot that was in the ground. It was just discarded when they tore it down and it got covered over with dirt. So I deal a lot with that there. But then I'll head over to the old oak tree property, the old plantation property, and John was wanting to see the detector. I think he's wanting to get one, and so I'm gonna let him try this one out for a little bit. I like it. I like it so far. I just haven't used it enough to make a kind of an opinion, but so far so good. I just like the way it's. I like the way it feels, man. It's a nice, easy swing machine. I haven't had. I mean, the Bliss tool's like almost 4 pounds. 3.92 pounds, but the way they distributed the weight, they took some attention to detail on that, and the way that the box is too. The control box, Greg, it's beefier than it looks in the photos. It looks substantial. And it's a good looking metal detector. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I folded that thing up, slid it all together, put it in the cab of the truck, and just set it right there or set it on the floorboard. It was nice about that because, like with the Bliss tool, I gotta dig this thing out of the car and make sure it doesn't hit the windows and everything else because I'm 6 foot tall, so same as you. And of course yours did that one time. You mashed the knobs on it or something like that. I think you did one time.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's nice collapsible. Just the detector shaft I thought was the most innovative, only because it took out that wobble. It's not totally round or totally square. It's got that weird shape to it. And it slides together so nicely. It just, I don't think I'll have to get an aftermarket shaft for this thing. They pretty much took care of it. But I moved the arm cuff up a little bit. That's solid too, because I've had problems with arm cuffs that got loose or have that loose feeling. So you get a wobble in the back of the metal detector when you're swinging. But that's not a problem with the Simplex at all. I don't know if the Equinox had that problem or not. I think yours is designed pretty good too.
Actually, it's pretty flimsy and cheap.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I've seen people, drop it on the ground, break the fins off of it.
Really? But, oh my God, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
They took us some attention to detail on this Simplex. I mean, the material seems when you tap on it like it's going to be brittle, but it's not. It's some kind. I don't know what kind of polymer they used or whatever they're using, but it has the touch of epoxy, like like on the Bliss tool coil, how it's hard. You can feel that hardness to it, but on the Simplex it feels. It's definitely a polymer, but it has that tapping sound. But you just think it's going to be brittle, but it's not. It's not brittle at all. Or I don't think it is anyway. So, Very, very nice design anyway. Shoot, let me see here. 98 here. Oh, okay. Gavin says it's 98 degrees in Australia. Whew. Yeah, we were just like that 2 weeks ago. That's probably why it got to me so bad today. We were just in the 80s. What, Craig? 3 days ago, something like that. I told you.
Yeah.
And then you drop down into the 50s, and man, that's a big change for us down here. But I'm enjoying it. Don't get me wrong. I like walking outside and not sweating to death. So.
Yeah, we got 32 right now.
Yeah, that's it. Paul Forsay's on there. Then Bill Marsh is on. Digger Man. Gavin is on. So yeah, they're all on chat right there. I think I saw a few others. Kind of go through here a little bit. Wow, you guys are blowing up chat.
I saw a video from Madison, Maine, and they already have snow up there. And I commented we had flurries twice already up down here, but he said the snow's come early this year up there. I thought that's bad news because they got about 6 months of winter anyway.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like, what was it? Brandon Stewart was telling us one time. He goes, "Yeah, we have 2 months of summer and the rest is winter time." He's up in New Hampshire, but
yeah.
or a month of summer. I can't remember what he's. A month of summer and the rest is crap. So,
yeah, I think the Stealth Digger's got some snow too already. I'm not sure, but
no, I'm not really complaining about down. I mean, I like it, but I just wasn't prepared for it. I did. Oh, heck, I'll be honest. I jumped out of the car, took the metal detector out, didn't even park in a parking spot, just pulled on the side of the road and started detecting because I've done it. Detected that area before. Grabbed my shovel, didn't even have my fine bag with me. I just wanted to see what the detector would do, so it wasn't like I was really, out there hunting. But 20 minutes was good enough, and I went back to the post and had a beer, and then I headed to the house. So somebody has to hold the bar down. That's my rule. You don't leave; they'll float away. So everybody has a man the bar. So hey, it's my story. Sticking to it. But yeah, I watched a couple other videos. What's that new detector, Craig? You put it up on Facebook on our Facebook page. What is it?
The new one,
Raptor. Or,
new
no?
one. Yeah, it has like a kind of a square, I guess rectangular box, and it
kind of looks like a GPX in a way, but not a GPX. But yeah, the same kind of style.
Yeah, it's the same kind of style, and it seems to be some kind of VLF, but it was pretty impressive in the air test that I saw. It had a really unique tone to it. It was kind of one of those tones, like it hits the target hard.
Right.
Like the my labs, I don't think hit the targets as hard like some of the detectors do. I mean, it's not that big deal to me, but it's like the Bliss tool. When it really hits hard on medium targets. In the middle of the sound, and that's what kind of. When I was listening to the tone, I thought, man, that I don't think this thing has a meter or anything either. It's
no,
but
it
it's
didn't
just
look like it.
I put it up because it's unbelievable how much, and people were talking about it. They're going, man, it seems like all these great detectors are coming out of Turkey now, and this has been going on for a while. I saw it 4 or 5 years ago. There was.
Well, we saw it 10 years ago, really. I mean, it's been going on for a long time. There's a lot of good electronics people over there.
Yeah, I mean, they're the reason that they detectors are coming out of places like that is look at all the treasure and all the ancient civilizations that had a ton of gold and silver and all just unbelievable stuff.
Oh yeah, Roman, Turkey and Roman stuff, and
even before like the Thracians and stuff. They even had, riches even better than the Romans.
Well, it's like Greek. I found that Greek coin over there in Bulgaria. It's like 10. Where I was at is like 10 miles from Greece, and then I mean this stuff is ancient. I mean you walk in, you don't see any modern homes at all. It's all these old stone. Well, what were stone homes and stuff. I mean, in Turkey is loaded with probably treasure everywhere. I mean, they find this
Oh, it
really
is.
old stuff.
I thought it was illegal to metal detect over there, but it's like years ago I sold Turkish Admiral an underwater machine and a land machine, and he owned 14 acres right on the GNC, and he said that his brother lived within 10 miles of the base of where Mount Arafat is, where Noah's Ark is, up on the top of that thing somewhere.
Right.
In fact, I've seen something of, people are going up there now, checking the stuff out, and there's some weird stuff up there.
Well, they say we've only discovered 10% of the civilizations that have been on Earth. So that's what the historians say. So there's stuff everywhere, but we just haven't found it.
It's amazing. In my lifetime, there was stuff like, the Neanderthals were like apes, they weren't really human, and now we're finding out that they were our ancestors, and they made it with us and all this stuff, and then there was all these people going now back to 1.4 million years now.
Right.
There's two hidden ancestors that they can see in certain genes or certain glands or something in the body that go back, that far. There's one that goes back 400,000 years, and then one that goes back over 1 million. But the world has, been through cataclysms and all kinds of stuff, and there's no telling what's down there. I mean, they're doing all this stuff on Google search, they're seeing all kinds of stuff now in Africa where there's all these civilizations that are really old. They predate Egypt and stuff.
Right.
And it's kind of shocking to a lot of these people. It seems like some people don't want it known, for some reason.
They're so afraid it's going to change something. You know what? Why lie to yourself about, where it doesn't change who you are. I mean, you are who you are. But what happened in the past, I mean, what was there, it's always good to know your past or where you came from, what was going on. I mean, I think
some of the technology that it took to build some of these places is way better than what we can do nowadays, as far as cutting those grand stones and stuff,
Well, that one stonemason that's been a stoneman for 40 years is like the best in the world, and said, I don't know how to cut that, but we don't have anything that can cut that. It's like they took a CNC laser machine and cut these out, these blocks that fit together. You can't, there's like minuscule offsets or whatever, where it's off. They're so precise that we don't have anything that can do that. It's so neat to look back that they may not have had electricity, but they had this, and this. So
yeah, they did have electricity.
Well, they did, yeah. But I'm saying
there's pictures of light. There's pictures of light bulbs and stuff on the hieroglyphics.
Yep.
And batteries. They've actually found a battery from Babylonia.
Mm-hmm.
That it's an actual battery, just like we have today.
Well, we find them out in the field. Those it looks like graphite, a real powdery. Weight wise, it's not very much, but it sets the detectors off. You find them out in the middle of a field. I could never, they're like octagon shaped and everything. I didn't know what they were, and all of a sudden I found one with a little piece that looked like an electrode. It's an old battery from like probably the 20s and 30s or something like that. And I had no idea what they were, so I could, I wouldn't even know what I was digging if I found a battery from back then. I mean, I don't know what they were. Well, I know they used citrus, didn't they, or something like that? Acid. Were they acid batteries or something?
I find these little pieces of graphite or something that are like just smaller than a pipe stem.
Right.
And they're from inside some kind of battery.
Yeah.
And I see them in the hole when I'm digging. I don't pick them up with a detector because it's carbon, but it, if it has the metal piece on it, it'll have like electrodes, I think, on it. And if it's in the hole, you'll pick those up. But
like Gavin was saying, he says, I find it hard to imagine such high technology coming out of a place like Turkey. Really not, because they want, they designed it's not the only company. I mean, there's several companies in Bulgaria and Turkey that make machines, metal detectors and stuff, but that's what they do. They're making them for a reason. That's why Med did. His dad is a historian and everything else. So
they're the most westernized Arab country. I don't even know if they really consider themselves Arab or not, but
No, not really. Well, at least
as far
not
as the
where I
Middle
was at.
East, I've helped a bunch of people in Turkey with the Bliss tool, and one of the first guys, when after I had to actually send videos, show him how to do the settings and photos, and because the language just doesn't translate.
Yeah.
Their writing anyway doesn't. But anyway, some of the guys were translating German. Some of them spoke German, and they would translate it to English. But but anyway, this guy friended me after I taught him how to do the machine, and it took like 2 days, and then he sent me this. I got this message with all these thumbs up that he had it, and then I got 5 more of his friends friended me the next day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I started looking them up, and this one guy owned a 4-star restaurant and hotel, and everybody looked like they were European, dressed like Europeans. It was all in suits, and it wasn't robes and all kinds of stuff like that. It was it looked like a European restaurant almost, the way it was set up, and the people and everything. So I was kind of surprised. I thought that's a richer country too. It's they got a lot of oil and stuff, but
I was down there near Slashed in Bulgaria, which is down by the Greece border and everything. And it's funny, some of the people obviously had a lot, like met at the 5-story smart building, and literally right across the the stone road is a stone house from I don't know how far back. I mean, these homes they're made out of stone like the Romans would do almost, I think. But I mean, it was, and you see stuff from like World War II. It was like the old German. I don't know if they're a BMW, what kind of motorcycle they are. It looks like a military motorcycle, sort of. Instead of the sidecar, they put flat, instead of having where you sit down in there, it's just flat right there, so they can put lumber on it and everything else. They're going around it, and the next thing you see is a horse and buggy, a wagon or whatever going by, and then you'll see a Ferrari go by. It's kind of weird to sit out there on these balconies of the building, and I go out there and have my coffee in the morning when I was there, and it was weird. You see some sports car go by, then you see a horse and buggy, then you see some stuff from World War II, and they make use out of everything. But the motorcycles and the old cars, Craig, were incredible. The old German cars and stuff.
I know an English guy, and he has property that he got 30 or 40 years ago in Bulgaria, and he said back then you could buy farms really cheap over there. And he said it's like the Garden of Eden over there. Everything, just grows so well. The soil's good, and the temperature's right, and everything else. And
they had beautiful gardens. They grew all their vegetables and everything.
They have, and they have all these really crazy restaurants. Where it's they're kind of wide open and almost open out into the outdoor stuff. It's quite different, and they seem to be like huge too.
Yeah.
But he said that it's one of the poorest countries in the world, or in Europe anyway, or EU. Mm-hmm. And it's controlled by the mafia. They have a lot of corruption with the mafia and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I didn't really see that. I mean, of course, I had bodyguard with me all the time too, but it wasn't,
Well,
I never felt it. Yeah.
This guy said he had 2 bodyguards, and they insisted if you were from England or America or something, you had to have bodyguards. That's just the way it went, especially if you're doing business.
Yeah, well, I went into Sofia and stuff like that, and I never had any problem. I with anybody over there. We went around, went to different restaurants and stuff like that, and we had to make a 225-kilometer trip down to Slashton, and we got about 10 miles, 10 kilometers outside of town. He goes, "You want to drive?" Hell yeah, I'll drive, because it's wide open where he was at. I said, "How fast?" I said, "I can't read these signs." He said, "Just go." So I'm out there racing down, and we got into the mountainous region, and there's some pretty good. And I drove truck for 18 and a half years. I mean, they had some serious hills where I was driving at in Bulgaria, and I was racing down through there, and all of a sudden, they have you have to stop, and they have letting traffic go. You went from like an autobahn setting to a 2-lane road, and you're going through these mountains down through there, and just had a blast driving down through there. He said, "You're liking this too much." I said, "Yeah." I said, I don't know if my American license is good or not. I'm crazy American, so watch out." So we went down through in the same aspect. We got to the headquarters there, and then when we went out to metal detect, we're driving up in this. It's like up the side of a hill. There's boulders laying in the middle of the road and everything else. We probably drove about 5 kilometers in, and then you're at this Roman site, and there's nothing else around. You don't see anything modern whatsoever, not even a power line. It's all these stone structures up one side of the hill, and then down in the valley, and then up the other side of the hill. I mean, you could hunt there for 20 years and never hit the same spot twice, probably. And there's still stuff there. I mean, there's, I dug stuff, 2,600-year-old stuff. I mean, I was like, freaking out, like, holy cow. How long do you want to stay? I said, just bring me water, a battery, and a portalet. I'll stay right here. He started laughing. I just stay here for 2 weeks, and it didn't matter. But
I wonder if we could, like the English guys buying farms, maybe they could buy relic property, and
it's too fun. It's too. Oh yeah, they don't. Yeah, I had to give up most of this. Just about everything I had when I found it. You don't. It's a weird situation there in Bulgaria where I wish they did have a system like that. I'd love to do a tour or whatever, a hunt over there. I told them Ed, I said, man, I could have 20 or 30 guys be willing to spend money to come over your hunt if they could find this kind of stuff. This is like the holy grail of stuff.
The mafia black marketing and that stuff is really big, lucrative money. And I saw things in the past where they one village would buy they'd all put together to buy one good detector.
Yeah,
and they'd go out and there'd be 20 guys with picks and shovels.
Yeah, that's how you hunt.
One guy
picks. And
I mean, they would. You talk about digging stuff up. It's unbelievable. Some of those guys that are in like Poland and Latvia and Lithuania, that they're looking for lost graves of World War I and II soldiers.
Right.
And it's amazing how deep they dig and how fast they get these places uncovered. It's amazing. They found so many lost grave sites, that where it was never, it was so hasty, that people were killed and they buried them, and then, had to retreat or move forward or whatever, and nobody really, ever went back. And they've been just, they got a whole team of guys, and they go out all the time looking, for this stuff, trying to save it.
Yep.
And try to put it into history where they were and who they were. And a lot of times by the insignia, they can tell who it is, and even, through the records, figure out who, what regiment or whatever it was, was there. But
they do a lot of good. It's actually, I've seen some of those, they're doing the, sending the items they found and the remains, if they find them, to whether Russia or Germany or whatever. There's some of the spots over there, so they can they can give closure to that family or whatever, if they can find out who it was, to give them closure. I mean, we all the war is hell. I mean, we got even our wars. We don't there's POW MIAs. I mean, every war there is, and to give a family or a country closure on some of the stuff would be great, and that's what they do. I've watched several of the videos, and I can't remember the name of their group, but they're on TV too, Craig. But we're searching for this stuff. But I
think it's called. A lot of them are called like Solder or something like that for soldier, I guess.
Yeah. But
they'll have like a name in front of it, and then Solder or whatever. Some of them speak English, but a lot of them don't. But they you can tell what they're digging, and they show all kinds of they're kind of like experts in every little insignia, and there's so many different types of insignia and stuff. So they have a lot of different relics and a lot of different different size shells, and all kinds of mortars and artillery shells. And,
I just think you're saving history and you're helping somebody out too, and giving some closure to people or whatever. Metal detecting is awesome. I mean, a lot of people say you're digging graves. I've never dug a grave in my life, guys. I don't think you have either. I mean, it's not what we're trying to save relics of the past that are forgotten, dropped, and never, they're just there. It's like, I mean, if they didn't have value, it'd be like we find 1,000,000,001 pull tabs, bottle caps, lead. We find so much lead in the ground as detectorists. We're saving the environment the way I look at it. I found 20-pound chunks of lead, down here in the middle of a field for no apparent reason. It's just not, coins. It's just not jewelry. It's just, it's all kinds of stuff, and you're saving it because a lot of this stuff, there's some stuff I found you can't even find a photo of it anywhere on the computer. I mean, if it didn't have a name on it, you wouldn't even know what it was called, type thing. Imagine what you're finding over in these other countries. I mean, when I was over in Bulgaria, we crossed over 2 Roman bridges out in the middle of nowhere. Really, there was no traffic there whatsoever. It was all dirt. And I thought, I told him to Med, I said, can we detect there next? And he just looked at me kind of funny. I said, I want to go by the bridge. I want to go underneath the bridge. Why? I it's all dried up. I said, doesn't matter. People threw stuff in the water all the time. I mean, our rivers are filled with junk. I mean, what would you find in an old Roman area with a Roman bridge? I mean, there'd be good stuff down in there. He started laughing at me. He goes, you keep nails. I said, yeah, but it's an 1,800-year-old nail. Wouldn't you keep it? He just laughs at me. But this is stuff that we, it's a piece of history. Why not? I like the old Roman nails. We used to find the old, how you find the heel plates and stuff, Civil War heel plates from the soldiers. I found they wore whatever, the sandals or whatever, the steel plates they put on the bottom of the sandals or whatever. I find those over there. It's all made out of pig iron, so they kind of come through. And Meg goes, "Why are you throwing them?" I said, "I'll stack them. Somebody will want them." He goes, "Nobody wants that. It's junk." I said, "Yeah, but it's 1,800-year-old junk or 2,000-year-old junk." I'd be saving everything. I'd be the worst. I'd be like, what is it? A junk man. I'll have all kinds of stuff piled up. But.
Well, it's like if I find I'm digging a hole, I'll see some colorful pottery. I keep it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people go, "Oh man, that's stupid." It's just a. I go, "Man, you wouldn't believe how many people do the same thing I do."
If it looks good, keep it. What the heck?
It's actually a relic.
Yeah. You've got a little piece of history in your hand.
Yeah, and it's actually, some of these have, I don't keep the white ones usually, but if it's got like featherware or blue or red.
Yeah, I like blue. Whatever, I like the blue designs on them and stuff. I'll find some of that down here. The old stone, I call it stone, like the crock pots, the jugs.
Yeah, I'd like to find a whole one.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I found a base of one, but I haven't found the whole one, and there's tons of broken ones all in our in the backyard of my house, but they're so big that they just didn't survive.
Digger Man says on here it's the Russian war diggers on YouTube that find the whole tanks and crazy stuff.
Yeah. There's actually quite a few groups that are doing it.
Yeah. Why not? It's just in the ground. That's what I could never figure out, why they get so upset with us. We're cleaning up the environment, guy. I mean, imagine the stuff that I dig just in one piece of property. I mean, you look at Stealth Diggers and Hoover Boys and you, Craig. I have so much scrap metal that I've dug up out of the ground that would have just sat there and rotted. I mean, I don't get why people have. I get why people have a problem sometimes with us, but we're doing more good than harm. Especially these water hunters. I mean, they're cleaning up the bottom of the rivers, and whatever they can get out of there is good. I mean, all these, even cell phones, the batteries in them and all this, it's all contaminants.
Some people have said, certain artifacts don't do good in the ground as they age.
Right.
Like certain metals will, like a silver coin will, still be pretty good, 1,000 years from now, but,
Right.
A lot of these bronze and copper coins start, but they'll still, you'll be able to recognize it's a coin probably, in 1,000 years. But pewter stuff and, other types of metals just don't last in the ground. Iron is the main, it's going to, I got a signal the other day and it was weird, and I could tell it was iron. And when I dug it, it disappeared. And I could actually see the rust in the ground in a circle.
Yeah, it's just all gone.
As soon as the air hit it just, the signal, it wouldn't do any conductivity anymore. It was weird, isn't it? It's, but
well, see, the bliss tool does that, but you can't even hit it with your pinpointer. But the bliss tool will pick it up. It's weird. I had that happen too. But it disintegrates in your hand almost. You just crush it up. Brass and copper. I mean, that's why we always tell you be careful straightening out spoons or anything brass or copper, because you got bent that way a long time ago, and then all of a sudden you try to straighten it, it's going to break most of the time. You got to be real careful. That saddle piece, I try to straighten.
I've had people go, "Well, it didn't look very good," and I go, "Now it looks 10 times worse."
Yeah, no kidding. It ain't broke. Don't fix it till it is.
These are rookie mistakes when you first start out. You over clean stuff. You try to, bend stuff into place. You kind of bitch about, oh God, it's not perfect. And it's a relic. And you're lucky if it comes out, in pretty good shape. I mean,
you are lucky to have found it. Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah,
you got to be.
I've had people that dug fabulous stuff as far as stuff you don't find very often, and it doesn't come out very good. Like I've dug plates that don't look very good, but it's a plate, and you can tell it's
more than I've dug. I mean, I've been wanting a plate for years.
And it's like this one guy goes, "I don't care. I'm happy to have it."
Yep. I'll take it just the way it is. Thank you very much. I like to have something to identify it. That's always my biggest hope is when I dig something, regardless of what it is, some kind of a number on it, some kind of a name on it, so I can identify what the heck it is. I mean, or what the maker's mark is, that kind of thing. That's what I hope for, is I can at least read that. It's like a date on a coin. It'd be real nice to see the date on the coin, but a lot of times you can't read them. I mean, it's King George's and all that stuff.
You kind of get a history for the button or whatever the artifact is.
It gives it some character, more character. But, a lot of stuff we don't. I mean, some people sell their stuff. I've come to the realization, you know what? I don't mind if they're selling it, because who's buying it? Another relic hunter. Somebody that gives a doggone if they're going to spend money on something we dug out of the ground, and it's a Civil War bullet or a World War II thing or whatever. They're buying this. They're going to treasure it. They're going to show it to people, whatever. They appreciate it. It's not like we're finding coins in the ground that are mint condition that some coin collector's going to want. 99% of the time, once in a while these guys dig one up that has a key date that they might be able to get you have to get it graded and all that. I mean, people that are buying this stuff are other people that are either interested in that era or they're other detectorists or whatever else. I mean, I don't know if I really see a problem with selling some of the stuff. I mean, I've had some stuff that I ended up getting money for. I didn't feel any bad about it because the guy treasured it. He's like, "Oh, I need this for my museum."
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I've seen in the past is I've seen people that, they started off in the hobby and they got into a good spot and they found stuff that they would never find again, but they didn't know it at the time.
Right.
I remember these two guys that found a Stonewall Jackson camp that nobody knew even existed, and it was like, I think he had 8,000 men there in that area, and they just, it was unbelievable what they found. And one guy kept everything he had, and the other guy sold everything. And a couple years later, they'd never gotten to a camp. They never probably would have ever gotten a camp like that again. It was just a luck, that they
once in a lifetime,
such a honey hole. And the guy that sold everything was just kicking himself because he thought, I'll dig these things again, down the road. And some of these things are stuff that everybody's got on their bucket list.
Yeah. Well, it's like sellers. You've heard of buyer's remorse. It's seller's remorse. I have that a little bit on that Colored Heroes medal I found. I mean, that was one of a kind. There's only 75 known to exist in the world. There's only been 5 found, and I was one of them. But the guy that got it, I have to look at it as he wanted it for his collection in the museum. I didn't, he ended up paying me for it, but I didn't really want any money for it. I got my photos, so I'm good with that. But that's probably the only thing that I ever got rid of, that I kind of have the seller's remorse thing, because I'll never probably ever dig one of those again. And I guess when I have a pocket full of them, or like bullets, Craig, I mean, you have, 1,000 pounds of bullets. I mean, if you give one away or sell one, you're not going to have so much remorse on that. You know what I mean? Because you have a bunch of the other ones. But these be careful on the items that you do sell, because you may never find another one like it. And there's several things I have that I'll probably never dig another one. I didn't know what I was digging when I was digging it. I have a Shakespeare 1-drop oiler that is probably from the 1920s. It just is scarcely rare. That's the only thing. I can't even get a photo of the thing. The only ones they have on photos of are the bullet oilers. They look, they look like a bullet. They were out in 1925 or something like that. But I found it out in the middle of a field. It's, you can actually read Shakespeare on the end of it. It still opens up and everything. I'm not going to sell that thing, because I'll never probably find another one. It's nice to find them in the ground. I found this. I didn't go and buy it from eBay. I didn't go whatever. That's, to me, that's a nice feeling to say, this is what I recovered. This is a history I found. I mean, Craig, you're the same way. I've seen your stuff. Tim Glick is. I mean, most of you guys, Bill Marsh. You guys have collections of coins and buttons, and
unless you really need the money,
and that's why I got rid of mine. I needed the money.
I'm just saying that some of the people that got rid of that stuff that they found, which they didn't. Once you get into the hobby big time, you really don't look at the money so much, because it's hard to make money off relic hunting. Especially nowadays. I mean, in the old days, people could do it, a little bit. But
I talked to a fella that had sold. He's a relic hunter. Found all kinds of Confederate stuff and Yankee stuff. He had a huge collection, and he decided he was getting. I don't know if it was getting out of metal detecting, or he got rid of it. He sold the whole collection to somebody, made great bank on it, and and he had that regret, that seller's regret. He goes, I'll never find all of this stuff again. I'll never have. I had some beautiful specimens, beautiful, stuff with real character, and the rare stuff that most of us will never find. He had it, and he had that regret, like you were talking about. He's like, I should have never. But he goes, on the same hand, I made really good money from it, but I just wish I had this piece or that piece or whatever. So I get it.
It's like I look at. I was looking through my collection today a little bit, and I saw something I hadn't seen in years, and I suddenly remembered, where I found it, and I think one of my friends was with me when I found it, and they were all upset about it, and so it's like it's funny, each relic you have, some of them you remember where you found it and where how you felt, or. Yeah. Some of the stuff some of my stuff goes back, almost 34 years now.
Mm-hmm. And, I was going to say Digger Man's on here. He says, I'll never part with my relics or whatever, but I will sell the newer rings. Well, you know what? I sell, broken rings. I sell. Clad. I mean, I've brought in, Craig, I remember was it 2008 or 9? It was 2010. I had, I think it was around almost $900 or $1,000 worth of clad, most of it in pennies and dimes and stuff like that. Some quarters, a huge amount, and I used all that money to buy another metal detector. It was all clad. It wasn't any old stuff. It's all maybe there were some wheat pennies in there or something like that, but I mean nothing real. No Indians, no silver coins at all. But like beach hunting. I mean, I used to beach hunt the crap out of areas, get, you know, $30 and $40 in change, and just I didn't care if broken rings or old gold rings or whatever. I'd take them down there, and like Bill Marsh says, it's gas money because it costs money. We travel around, even in the state. You could, by the time you spend the whole weekend and you're driving here and there and buying food and everything. Not to mention if you went to a metal detector hunt. I mean, you might as well just drop $1,000 bill right there, get between hotel rooms and food and everything like that. It does cost money to be in the hobby, and that's what you find money. I mean, you can. And it's not like it used to be. I mean, I have a good friend of mine. He says I used to go to the beach every weekend, and I'd come home with almost $100 in change. I mean, it used to be great down here. I mean, but now everybody has a metal detector, so we work a little harder to find what we do.
Popular. That's too popular.
But in the same aspect, it's opened up a lot too. That's why I think anybody new coming into the hobby is not necessarily a bad thing. It's going to open up a lot more permissions to hunt properties. It's going to change things around. I want to believe in a positive way as long as they have good etiquette and stuff like that. We, as people in the hobby that, I'm going to say experienced hunters, every one of you guys listening to this show, on chat and everything, you guys have been in the hobby for quite a while. You guys do it too. You teach people if they have questions or whatever, you teach them about etiquette. You teach, this is what you do, this is what you don't do. As long as we keep on doing that, we're going to have a great group of people. And you're going to have a few idiots. I mean, it's inevitable. But fortunately, we haven't had that big of a problem with that in this hobby. A few instances. But most any of the time, I could go and say, yeah, man, you can hunt my yard. I don't care. Because I know you're not going to leave my yard a mess. You're going to dig up the stuff. You're going to fill the holes in. Yeah, we're all good. And the same way when I hunt somebody's property around here, like John, I just got permission on that property. I told him yesterday, is it okay if I come out and hunt? He goes, you don't even need to ask me. Just come on out. Just make sure you close the gates when you come in because he has cattle. I thought, oh, yeah, man, appreciate it. But I still text him. I throw that, hey, bud, I'm here or whatever. I'm going to be detecting for a while. And he'll always give a thumbs up or whatever. But it's just respect, But as we do this and people find more stuff, and then all of a sudden you're getting permissions they're getting permissions on these big properties, and they do a good job. The landowner's happy, tells his buddy down the street, and all of a sudden you're getting a permission on a property you've tried for years and never could get permission because of something good somebody else did. So, it works both ways. I think it's a good positive thing in this hobby. I don't think you can have too many detectors. There's always stuff to find. Anyway, we may, eventually run out of Civil War stuff to find, but there's always World War I, World War II. There's always, everything in between.
Well,
the 1920s were awesome, I think. The Roaring 20s.
It's just like the golden age of relic cutting's over, but you're still going to be able to find stuff. It's not
tougher.
like it was.
It's harder.
And it's going to be harder and harder to find belt buckles and big things. Big relics.
Well, you guys still find colonial stuff. I mean, people still find colonial stuff every day. They're finding this stuff.
But I guarantee you'll still be finding buttons 100 years from now and stuff like that. And especially like these colonial spots, unless they make detectors that can just, X-ray right through the nails and stuff. There's always going to be stuff, that's being hidden in the nails. I don't care what they do.
No, the only thing that's going to put a kibosh on this hobby is pretty much paving everything over. That's what I've had a problem with. I mean, the places I used to hunt at used to be a dirt parking lot for the last 100 years. And all of a sudden, boom, I come in a weekend, they've paved it over. I used to hunt another spot. Now there's a parking garage. I mean, construction's what's ruining our sites. They'd sooner put a building in, whatever. And it's their choice. I mean, it's the way the world is. But I mean, I'm losing more sites to construction than anything else, and places
we used to be able to hunt Fairfax County property, which is a huge county in Northern Virginia, and then I had a permit for Arlington County for about a year and a half, and then they took it away. But they just all of Northern Virginia is like totally unfriendly toward metal detecting. It's just but up here.
But they'll take a dozer, Craig, and rip half the mountain apart. They call it progress. Yeah. I mean, what is your little shovel and your metal detector doing?
Well,
what I mean? That's what pisses me off about it.
It's like they won't let you on construction sites anymore, hardly
Yeah.
even. And I go, what? Why? I mean, but it makes the archaeologists look bad.
No, I don't.
Sometimes they go.
I think that's an
You know,
excuse too. But
it's like down there in Old Town. My friend Howard used to, he was a painter and he knew all the construction guys, and he'd go into these sites and they got so upset, because he was finding all these colonial coins and stuff and flat buttons, and then they go into sites that nobody think any Civil War stuff there, and then you find all this Civil War stuff. It's just like that site I hunted after they did the archaeological dig.
yep.
It was ridiculous. I'm there 15 minutes and I got three ringers and a perfect colonial shoe buckle. It didn't have the innards in it, but that outside was perfect. And the lady next door comes over and says they only found 2 bullets 3 weeks in the ditch that they dug.
Yeah.
You know,
Let the professionals
everything.
handle it. That's what I say. When it comes to metal detectors and relic hunting, you guys are the best. I mean, yeah, archaeologists are great. They know their stuff, and there's a lot of guys that are archaeologists that metal detect. They know the, they don't have a lot of the experience like we do. We do this like Craig, Civil War stuff or colonial stuff. In his area, he's probably one of the best. Because he does it all the time. Now, if you got somebody that went to college, has an archaeology degree, is it in Egyptian? Is it in whatever? They on paper they're great, but I mean, I put Craig's skills up against theirs as far as finding stuff. I'm not going to dig 25 test holes to see if there's something in them. I want to take a metal detector in there, find out where the stuff is, where the activity is, mark it, and dig there. That's where you're going to find stuff. It just makes sense to me, but they do things differently. I think that's an excuse, Craig, a lot of times with the, with the people saying, archaeology. I don't think we know a lot of archaeologists. I mean, there's a lot of guys on here and gals on here that may very well be. I know a couple of them. I'm not going to give out their names, but they think the same way we do. As long as you're finding it, preserving it, and saving it, because it's going to get paved over. They're going to put a building there, and nobody's going to find it for the next 100 years because you can't get to it.
Yeah.
That's what kind of blew my mind.
You could read books. You're not going to have a degree, but you could be an archaeologist because it's the amount of knowledge you know about it.
Right.
It's like when I was at the battlefield, they were like shocked at how much stuff was coming out of the ground when they found I think 2 or 3 bullets, out of 500 test holes in a parking lot area that they were going to put a parking lot in.
Yep.
And we ended up, I was like one of the first groups to come in, and start. I think I was the second day, and the day before, some really good Confederate bullets had been found, and they were, we were going, oh my God, because they were, 69 caliber two ringer Gardners, which are one of the rarer bullets. I've only found one, and they were like, well, why is that such a big deal? And I go, you don't know how rare these things are, and they had no idea. They didn't know one bullet from another hardly.
Right.
And didn't even know that the artillery shell, most people that would have looked at it would have thought, yeah, that looks like an artillery shell because it was a rounded tip and everything.
Well, I got news for them down here. They talk about, people digging up stuff. Every once in a while you hear Indian artifacts and this and that. I don't think anybody should go out there and disturb anything like, burial sites, or that's just like a taboo. You don't do that. Now, if you find it laying on the ground, an arrowhead, how many arrowheads are out there, or a piece of pottery? It's not like you're digging for them. Even if you're looking for random arrowheads, these guys are lucky to find a lot of this stuff. I have a friend that's, he is fantastic at finding arrowheads. He has bucketfuls of these things, and they're out in these places he clears off, and they put houses or buildings or something else on there. So he hasn't hurt nothing. He's done this since he was like 10 years old. He can remember going out there and arrowhead hunting with his friends and stuff. They found so much around here. But I started thinking down here, you Florida people that detect and stuff, you want to, I've kind of kept this, thought of doing this, and I just don't have time to do it. When you see them building somewhere, they scrape when they put the Dollar General in, I got 10 loads of dirt in my yard. the topsoil. They dig down so far to reinforce to make it solid base to build the foundation of the building. Where does all this dirt go? They do it on the houses. They do it. That's where that's where the archaeologists should be looking. That's where all the relics are, or all the history
yeah, but they don't
down
want to do that because then the strata has been disturbed and they don't have any content.
So let us do it. Most.
And I go, well, the context is kind of funny. They want to know exactly how deep it is.
Oh yeah, I get it. Yeah.
But I've been in sites where you dig a bullet, an inch or 2, 3 inches deep, and then the next hole you get one down a foot deep.
Right.
And you go, the ground is different. Sometimes it doesn't matter, but like with Civil War stuff, a lot of times is like, down in Stafford, it was 1863 camps.
Mm-hmm.
So you're digging stuff from from the winter of 1863.
And I've seen some of these places, Craig, that they scrape in these archaeologists, and not all of them. And I'm not picking on archaeologists at all. They're good at their craft or whatever. It's what they do. But I've seen where they found a site that they want. They say, okay, we think something was here, and they say, okay, get the dozer in here, and they scrape off the first 2 foot of the ground, and they just push it aside. And then you might see them grab a metal detector. You start to see more and more metal detectors out there in archaeologists' hands. Whether they want to tell you or not, they use them. But they scrape that first 2 foot off. What does it matter if we're in there then? Why does it matter so much? Because they disregarded that already. And that's most detectors out there. 2 foot down, there's only a handful of detectors I know that can find anything of substance at that depth. Surface area on a coin, I can get a 30-inch silver dollar with the Bliss tool, but that's not going to be an everyday thing, I don't think. You can detect it, but I got to dig that deep. The first 2 foot is nothing to them. It is everything to us. So I don't understand why there's such animosity in that aspect. Or not animosity, it's not really animosity, Craig. I don't even know what it is anymore. I don't think there's as big of a problem with it. I think both sides are starting to understand, we do different things, but we do the same thing. And we're saving history that normally would be thrown away. So
the bureaucracy is totally against it, down in Northern Virginia. It's all part of, Alexandria embedded it was the first and I think the only city so far that's embedded archaeology into the, they've got 3 salaried positions, and then all these other people helping them. But, they basically, everything in the ground is theirs. And, they look at you. I did a talk at the Masonic Temple one time for the Citizens Association, and archaeologist, I guess she went before I did. And then I had brought all these showcases full of stuff, and it just people were when they saw what I had, everybody was asking me questions, and I stood there for an hour and a half talking to all these people, and the archaeologist was shocked. She was just and I baited, I was nice to her, I did, I basically said, some of this stuff I got from yards up around the Masonic Temple area because I lived there, and,
right.
But she was shocked at how much I knew about all this stuff, and I said, well, when I first started, I didn't know anything. I couldn't have told you, I remembered seeing a Mercury dime and a Walking Liberty $50 when I was a kid, but that was about it,
Yep.
I didn't even know anything about Indian head pennies or.
I think it's a select few archaeologists in a whole. There's a lot of people that went to college and have their archaeological degree and stuff, and I know a lot of them, and they don't think this way. They don't begrudge us for doing what we do, but there's a handful of them out there, and they kind of all get lumped in one sum. It's kind of like they have a few bad apples in every bunch. Even in detector world, you have 2% or whatever it is of people that just do what they want. They don't care what anybody thinks, and they hurt the hobby. I'm sure it's the same way with archaeologists. And you have the bureaucracy of it all, Craig. I can see that part of it, but we know a lot of these guys, and they're like, I don't know why they're not using metal detectors. It's stupid. You find a you find the activity and you start digging from there. It makes sense. It saves time. It saves money. I mean, but like Josh, what is it? Josh Gates. You know, he does the Expedition Unknown. He's our archaeologist. I mean, he went to college for it. But the guy likes adventure and he likes using stuff and he uses metal detectors. I mean, and yeah, it's a TV show, but guys, doesn't he have the best job in the whole world? He gets to travel around the world. He gets paid for it. He gets to look for treasure and find things and, do all this neat stuff. And he gets paid for it to have fun. That's the best damn job in the whole world. Give me some of that. I'll take that. I don't think there's anybody out there that wouldn't. If you love relic hunting and stuff like that, don't you want to do it? And get paid for it to be great. I mean, but don't make it a job. When it becomes work, it's no fun anymore. So you got to keep it fun. Well, yeah.
It's like when our club, went and started digging up there, helping the archaeologists out at the Manassas. At first they were like, shocked, and then they couldn't believe it that we knew, everything, and they knew nothing. Because I basically told them, I said, you don't know anything. Let me tell you what is going on here.
Let me explain it to you.
And I said, as far as bullets go, there's like 1,000 different varieties that were used during the Civil War. And some of them, disappeared early in the war, and they'd standardized them. But I said, there's so many buttons, so many relics, all kinds of different plates, and belt buckles and breastplates, and all kinds of stuff. And then there's this, coins. There's all kinds of personal items that
brooches and jewelry and hairpins and rouge containers and machinery parts, and there's just so much stuff that you dig that it's a bucket lister because you never found one, but you never even thought about finding one. Those are the cool ones when you never even thought about finding something like that and you find it. That's a thrill and a half. And the thing is,
this site I got up the street, part of it was bulldozed, and the grass never grew back. And after this winter, after a year of rain, hitting the ground and everything, I walked in there. I hadn't been in there in 6 months, and I was picking up, porcelain buttons and stuff laying on the ground.
Yep. That's why I hunt for arrowheads. I mean, I look for arrowheads like that. Wait for they plow a field, let it rain real good, and walk through there, and you can see the glimmer, and you can pick up stuff right off the ground.
Yeah, I got a couple marbles. Found a clay marble. I got a couple. I don't know if you saw. I got like those dolls' feet and hands and legs or whatever, whatever they are. Mm-hmm. It's like doll parts. I guess they're made out of ceramic or something, but I haven't found the body yet or the head. All I'm finding is feet, and hands, and legs and arms.
Well, I was telling John about that hand axe, the stone hand axe I found. It's a paleontific, and I was telling him about it. Said I'll bring it in and show it to you. And this, we were having, it was Veterans Day, and this one guy's kind of listening in and everything. He goes, "Oh, you should take that to the museum, and they need to have that." And I said, "No, they don't." And I just kept on talking to John, and he goes, "They should really have that." I said, "So why? So it can sit in a basement somewhere for the next 100 years?" And he finally shut up about it. I mean, it kind of ticked me up the way he was saying it. It was like I was breaking some kind of rule or something. I found the thing laying on the ground in the middle of a half-wooded field that it was just laying there. I picked it. I didn't even know what I had at first, and it was just the way he said it, Craig. You get those condescending people. And I mean, so it could sit in a basement for 10 years or 100 years. And John started smiling because, John's kind of getting into this now. I mean, he's like, he never thought of us. I mean, John, you walk out of your door and you're walking on relics. You're walking on history. You got it right underneath your feet, brother. All you got to do is dig it up. I don't know what it's going to be. It might be a bunch of junk cans. It could be bottles. It could be whatever. But everybody's the same. No matter where you live at, you had some kind of history on your property at some time. That's why we always say detect your own yard first. I still metal detect my yard. Craig still does his yard and still finds stuff. You just never know. I always go back to that old White's advertisement, the pamphlet they sent out back in I think it was the early 2000s, and it showed the mother and the son, and that's what she bought her. They got a metal detector, and they metal detect together. He was like maybe 8-9 years old, and they found, they had an article about him. They find all kinds of stuff in their own yard, and she ended up finding a 300 BC coin, Roman coin in her yard in North Carolina somewhere. I remember that advertisement. It's like, it's true. I mean, you just never. I mean, I don't know if that was real or not, but I mean, I would assume it was. They wouldn't have, whites wouldn't have backed that unless they knew it was some validity to it. But yeah, you never know what you're going to find, and you could find it in your own backyard. What could be better? I mean, we travel around a little bit, but it's always nice to be able to go a quarter mile to a spot to hunt versus traveling 50 miles. I mean, that's why I don't go to the beach a lot, Craig. I don't want to make that 80-mile round trip or 100-mile round trip. Deal with all the deal with people that much. I'll go at night. I do a lot of night hunting at the beach, and a lot of us do down here.
I see some of these guys that they go 5 hours just to get to a spot.
Oh,
they go back home
yeah.
at the end of the day, and I'm like, man, if I did that, I'd be crashing into something on the way home.
Yeah, it's like I go to these hunts. I go up there to Ohio. I mean, I drive straight through, but it's not necessarily just for the hunting. It's the people that I know that are going to that, to meet them, to hang out with them, and the like-minded thing. But a chance to dig Civil War relics, or up by your place, Craig. I mean, I don't get that opportunity, so I'll travel. If I have the money to do it, I travel everywhere. It brings a lot of memories for me. Thinking back every place I've hunted, I keep a little, kind of halfway diary about it, and the stuff I find, I put it in cases like you guys do, or I pretty much know where I found everything. Sometimes it throws me for a little bit of a loop. This stuff that I found, 16, 17 years ago, I have to think about it for a minute, but. Craig keeps like a coin book, with all his reals he has in it, and I was kind of flipping through there, and he could tell me, oh, that one I found here, and that one I found there. He knows right where he found it at. So, but
I kept, I don't do. It's funny. I stopped keeping records about 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, and I for years I marked every single thing down, where I found it, and the date, and what machine I used. But I don't know, for some reason I just stopped doing it about 5 years ago, and but I keep everything I find in one box from one site. Or sometimes, if I find a lot of stuff, it'll be 2 boxes, but that's kind of the way I do it nowadays. I've been doing that over the years anyway, but when I first started, I just, I had jars, and I just dump all the bullets and buttons and jars and stuff. And then I started thinking, I heard this one guy telling me, he said, I try to save everything from one camp into one box, or one site. I thought that's a good way to do it. It's kind of like, little, picture of what was there, at that particular site. Each site has different artifacts or a different, look to it, and it's kind of neat to do, At least you can say, hey, maybe 100 years from now, somebody will say, oh, wow, there's a construction site here, but this guy's artifacts were from that site, underneath that building there.
Yeah. I got, this Ohio Relic Hunter brought this, Bill Marsh brought it up because he wanted to know if I was hunting, doing the Florida Hunt 6. And I totally, Craig messaged me on Thursday night. He goes, hey, you got to go over Relics Radio. You got Greg's on there talking about Florida Hunt 6, and I can't even remember what I was doing, Greg. Last week was like a blur. We had so much stuff going on at the post and stuff, but I meant to catch the show and listen to the replay, but I guess Bill says it's on, he thinks it's on February 8th, so I'll call Greg Pompano or I guess Mark Hoover to verify it, and yeah, I'll go to it. Heck yeah. I had a blast over there. I mean, everybody was there, the Florida hunters. And we had a lot of out-of-state hunters too. It was a good time. Shooting from Brian Robinson found that trigger guard, 1700s, 1778 or something like that. I found that tap. It's actually a wine barrel tap. It's a French one, and it's I haven't got a date on it yet, but I know it's got to be. If he's finding 1778, it has to be somewhere within 20 years of that anyways, one way or the other. There's a lot of other stuff, Barber dimes and everything else found, but it was just fun hanging out with everybody. My mother was asking, because I created a monster with my own mother.
I was just wondering about, she's been out metal detecting lately?
Well, she's been telling me, she goes, you need to go metal detecting. Like this weekend, I was going to that, doing that poppy drive. Go metal detecting afterwards. I'm like, All right, I will. She goes, she knows I have fun with it, but I get so tied up with life, everything else going on. And she goes, when are they doing another one of those Florida hunts? I'm like, I said, I think it's coming up in, sometime for January or February. I didn't listen to the show, so I didn't know exactly when. She goes, well, you make sure you get us on there, because she's all into it. I'm probably going to put a metal detector in her hand and let her go to it. She likes to dig this stuff up. I mean, she goes, I'll just let you find it and I'll dig it. All right, we're a team. So everybody sees, and she's out there. I mean, she'll dig holes, Craig, she's 73 years old. She'll go out there and dig more holes than most guys will. She just dig a heck out of them. But she has such a blast, and she goes, and I think I can see even when it's a piece of, essentially a piece of junk, that you find in the ground, some piece of cast iron, she'll pick it up and she'll start, wait a minute, this could have been this and this could have been that. And she's just like a 10-year-old kid with it, she's having a blast. So that's one of the things that, even my mother-in-law, and she's passed now, been passed for a while, but she goes, well, when are we going to go to the beach? I said, well, I don't know, whenever you want to. She goes, well, I need to look for my shells and you need to find your metals. I said, metals? She goes, that thing you swing, you find metal with it. I said, yeah, my metal detector. She goes, yeah, you find the gold metals and I will find the shells. And we'd go out to the beach and spend, 7-8 hours out there, and she'd come back with a bucket full of shells, and I'd come back with all kinds of whatever I dug off the beach. And then she started wanting to pinpoint the stuff, the pinpointer and everything. So I told Pauline, I said, I got my new hunting buddy. But yeah, we just have a blast. It's fun times. I mean, kids like it. Men and women like metal detecting. I mean, it's a big family. That's the way I look at it, anyways. And shoot, look at us on here. We've been doing this show for about 3 years now, 4 years, whatever it's been. And a lot of these guys, like Bill. I mean, he's all over the place. You see him on. Like, Bill, I see you every radio show you support. You have since day one, and I appreciate it. I know they do too. But Bill's a wealth of information, man. I can mention anything on here. Bill probably knows something a little bit about it. So it's nice to have those kind of people, Gavin and all the rest of them on here. But they, you guys are a wealth of information. But it's nice to sit there and talk to people and about a fun hobby or whatever else comes up. So, but yeah, we're gonna.
Yeah. These podcasts is really cool because it's opened up a whole new thing. It's like live. You can sit there and listen. Get a good lot of information and stuff. It's just fun. Yeah, like you say.
Yeah, why not have fun? Oh, I'm the Amish buggy exhaust. I'm all over the place. Yeah, Bill. He lives up in Ohio. A lot of Amish up there. At any rate, but yeah, I'm gonna head out tomorrow morning. Like I said, I'm gonna hit it. Probably at daybreak. I want to hit that curbside, or what I call it a curbside, and it's actually the same property where I found that our colored heroes medal. They've paved over the parking lot. This is on the other side where there used to be. Back in '71, I have an aerial photo of a full track like you'd find. Well, it used to be a college, but then they turned it into a high school. Back in the 20s, 30s, something like that. Now it's a grade school, or I don't know. The kids are, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years old. I don't know what the age group that is, but anyways, or as far as what grade they're in. But they used to have a full size track and the bleachers and the whole 9 yards. But there's nothing there anymore. Matter of fact, I think they took where the concession stand was, or where the building was, is now a retention kind of pond for runoff. So you kind of lost that, but I know right where the bleachers were almost in the road, Craig. But not, they're not there anymore, obviously. But so yeah, I mean, it's kind of a good area, and it's one that's not fenced off, because that's what frustrates me. A lot of and I know they have to do it because there's so many freaks in the world, but they fenced off all the grade schools, stuff like that. The old ones, they're still kids going to school there. That's the reason why, because there's so many freaks that like to mess with kids and stuff. They had to put the fences up and everything up for to keep our kids safe. But it also limits us as metal detectors from going in there and metal detecting. And here I have a school that has a ton of history, and I was able to get into the parking lot area and before and everything, but now they paved it over, so I'm kind of my SOL on that. I found that meteorite right there, Craig, shoulder deep in the ground. and that was where the old baseball field was, and the baseball field's not even there anymore. They made that into a kind of like a pull through for cars to go park to pick up their kids. So it's another place I'll never be able to detect. But I found that meteorite right there. That Tony from Orlando was with me, and he couldn't believe I dug that thing up out of the ground that deep. And I'm over there shoulder deep, and he's down there with the Tesoro. He goes, "There's something down there. I'm getting a good signal." And it's sweltering. It's like 90 degrees out, 98 degrees outside. And I'm digging this hole, and getting down shoulder deep in the ground anyways is difficult. Even in our good ground. I reached down there, I pulled this thing up, and I thought it was a chunk of metal. I said, "You got to be kidding me. That thing sounded good." And I put it in my pouch, and I got it home, and I washed it off, and it's a stony iron meteorite is what I found. And it's just like, what the heck? I never would have thought about that, and I blew him away. I showed him a picture of it, and he goes, "That's what you found?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "God, that thing was deep." I said, "Yeah, right in the middle of, between first and second base on the old baseball diamond, But that same day he found, Walking Liberties, and we found a bunch of old baseball. I found my first Canadian large cent there. It was behind home plate. I don't know, it was 1901. It's a large cent though. I mean, it's not that old, but I mean, it's still the first one I found. So yeah, I mean, I made a lot of good finds on that property. So I figure I'd do that curbside and see what I can dig up out of there, and then I'll head over to the old Legacy Oak property, the plantation property, and let John swing this detector for a while. And I'm gonna bring the Bliss tool with me too, I think, and let him play with the new one there a little bit more. I'll get some video. I want to make a couple of videos with this thing. It seems really good. I mean, it just seems, I liked it. Today I could have stayed out there for 2 hours. I probably, I just had to get home and all that stuff and take care of life. But I'll make some kind of a video, Craig. I don't know what it'd be. I'll just probably be like a live hunt thing. I'm just going to set it up and go.
Like you've done before. I mean,
yeah.
Maybe let people listen to the signal or something.
Yeah, that's what kind of made me. It's the way it sounds. It just, and I don't when I do a video I don't use headphones, but with this one I can or whatever. But it just the way. It was so smooth. I mean, the signals pop right out. I don't know what to make of the VDI numbers, but it don't really matter. I'm going to dig it anyways. I'm a relic hunter, so. But yeah, I'll put it on.
Well, you want to kind of do that in the beginning just to get used to what it's reading and stuff. You don't know until you start digging stuff up, and looking at what the meter says.
Right. But, that's one thing I'm not used to is looking at a meter all the time.
You were saying that everything bred lower than it does, like even on the Equinox, I believe.
Well, no, the quarters or
no, I'm sorry.
Then the other,
like an AT Pro or something.
Right. Well, I noticed that with like White's has their VDI number set up, and then you had E-Track, which was like double digits and stuff like that, which I never really used in E-Track very much. But yeah, I mean, they're all different. You can't, once you get your mind, that's why it's good to have a test garden. I never took this thing over the test garden at all. I may do that first thing in the morning, just kind of, quarter, dime, nickel, where am I at on it? It doesn't matter to me though. If it's reading up in a non-ferrous range, I'm going to dig it on this property because it could be literally anything. You just never know what you're going to dig out of the ground. So, but with that being said, Craig, I'm probably going to wrap up the show for tonight. Of course, we'll be on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m., guys. I changed some stuff around on the Spreaker page. I'm having a difficult time with that thing. I was trying to get the description and stuff right. I don't know if it came out right or not, but I changed the times. It still had Thursday and Saturday nights on there. Sorry about that. But it is Saturday night at 8 p.m. and then Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 7 a.m. And, be sure to like and follow the show. We appreciate your support and everything. And looking forward to doing the next show. Maybe I'll find something really good tomorrow, Craig, and I can put a picture or two up other than a stinking Lincoln or a bullet or a shotgun shell. Oh, shoot. But yeah, y'all have a good night. Be safe, stay warm, and we'll talk to you on Monday morning. Catch you later.